It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the USA Luge athlete, Reannyn Weiler. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get into professional luge?
I started luge around the age of 14. So kind of early on then, of course, you have those ideas like you want to make it big, you want to do all this great stuff. And then again, you have the reality of like, okay, a lot of things got to go right to get there. And so probably when I was around 16 years old, that was the first time we had our first like international competition out in Europe. And we ended up placing third. So then I was like, okay, we're in the mix. So I think that's kind of what started that there. And so over the past couple of years, I'm now on the senior team now, and so I'm kind of in that more professional setting now.
What was that like getting started in the sport of luge, and how did you know that you wanted to become a luge athlete?
I had definitely kind of a more of a late start compared to some kids. At USA Luge, we have the slider search recruitment program. And basically they'll like come around to different towns and they'll bring out these wheel sleds, push you down a hill, down a street somewhere. And that's how they recruit kids. They see if you have the potential to do it. And so my dad worked at the same school as Erin Hamlin, Olympic bronze medalist mom. And so she was like, she knew I did gymnastics and kind of had that athletic background. She was like, you should really go try it. They're coming to the area. It'll be a kind of like a fun thing to do, go ahead and give it a try. And so I did it and I got called back. And then from there, you get put on the development team. And then you have the Canada team, junior national team, and kind of make your way up from there. And now I'm on the senior team. So
Of course,
two little steps.
what was that like? Obviously, having gymnastics as a background to help you to become a luge athlete.
Gymnastics definitely, it's such a very, you need such an overall strength to do gymnastics. I think gymnasts tend to do pretty good in luge. I know one girl who's on our candidate team and she was a gymnast and she's doing very well. It kind of gives you that overall base strength, I would say. And I mean, we competed probably like every weekend and stuff. So you have that like kind of pressure early on. Like I was like 10, 12 years old when I was doing gymnastics. So I was really young, but I think it just helps so much at the start. Like I have that base strength and coordination that not all sports teach you. It's such an overall like arms have to be strong, your legs have to be strong, you have to have good balance. And I think it's probably the hardest sport. I think gymnastics, you just have to naturally be good at it. And I enjoyed it for as long, but I was once I got the opportunity to luge, I was very much ready to be done with gymnastics. It really broke me down a little bit physically. So I think it was a great pathway to me getting involved in luge.
What was it like getting to compete in the Youth Olympics in 2020?
That was like probably my biggest race thus far at that point. And it was the first time we had like the pressure. You kind of had those like cameras there. You had some media attention and stuff. And so that's kind of what you're always looking to be at, that kind of next step and next stage. And that at that point, that was the biggest race we could do. We weren't an Olympic discipline for like the actual Olympics going into 2022. We knew that wasn't ever going to be on the table, but we knew Youth Olympics was going to be this big thing it needed to kind of go well for them to put women's doubles in the 2026 Olympics, which we ended up getting approved for that. So now we have the potential to be in the Olympics, but it was fun. Though staying there, we got to stay with all the other different luge, bobsled, skeleton. We had some speed skating athletes there. So we were living with the athletes from other countries, and it was a fun experience. I made a lot of new friends from that. Some that don't even do luge still, and we're still friends with. We have one German friend, and she always comes out and watches our races. So it kind of built up kind of more of a community setting in that, and it definitely gave us something to look forward to and push for like the actual Olympics in the next couple of years.
While competing in the Youth Olympics, what was that experience like for yourself being the flag bearer?
That was definitely a big honor I had. like going into like I didn't think flag bearer, like I didn't know that that was really an option kind of. And so we got there, and basically how it works is they have your team initially like elects one athlete. So we kind of, there was between three of us luge athletes, we kind of gave our little speech on why we think we should do it kind of thing. And so then my teammates thought that I deserved to kind of go on to that next point of it, and they thought I'd have a good chance. So that's kind of what we did. Because obviously you want your sport to, you want, like, if you're on the luge team, you want a luge athlete. So I had the honor of them choosing me, my own teammates. So that was cool. And then from there, I got chosen. I think, I don't know who exactly chooses in the next step, but someone made that. My coach came over and he was like, guess what? You're going to be the flag bearer. And I was very excited. My parents were excited. It was, it was really cool. And we kind of walked out ahead of our team at that point. So we initially saw like you had the huge fans, and it was a huge kind of walk into the like arena there. And it was pretty cool. And it was nice to be able to carry the US flag. It's always an honor.
What was your experience like getting to compete in the Youth Olympics, and how was that like going to the Youth Olympics to compete?
It was the process leading up to the Youth Olympics started. We had a lot of like qualifications, so we had like this race off kind of format. And I think leading up, we kind of knew that we were the only women's double sled. We had a couple, but they were pretty new, so we knew we kind of had that spot. Like we just kind of needed to put down clean runs, and that's what we did in the race offs. And then from there, the way you have to qualify no matter what, even if you're elected by your country to kind of be in that spot, you do have to get a certain number of points. So you do that in the first four races, and then from there, you're officially like able to go. You have enough points. So then we kind of had a little bit more like like we had our Youth World Cup circuit. So that kind of gives you a little bit of training. That was our first, like, we were going to all these new tracks, and it was hard at first. That was our first time in Europe, and we had a lot of bad training in all those World Cups, but we knew we could do well in St. Moritz. So we had a little more confidence in that track. And in the race, we ended up getting fourth. We were in medal contention after the first run, so it was a little disappointing to fall back into that fourth position, but it definitely like taught us a lot of lessons. It definitely got to feel like what it's like to have the pressure, and it's just like builds up your confidence here and there. We knew we were in contention, so that was good to see. Sad we didn't get the medal, but it was all like, I consider like all just, it was a good learning experience in that, and I had a lot of fun. My family was able to come out, my grandparents on both sides of my family, my aunt, and so it was a nice little family trip also. And it was like the first time they were able to come to Europe and watch me, so
How was
I think it was a
that?
great experience still.
How was that experience like? Obviously, as you said, having your family there in Europe with you to watch you compete at the biggest stage.
That was definitely probably the highlight of it. My family really, it's hard to come out to Europe. It's hard to plan this big trip. And the thing with St. Moritz, it is like so fancy. It's very much a very, very rich ski town area. So it was cool they were able to like, it took a lot of planning to get out there. But my grandparents, I think that was like my grandma, I know they were able to do a trip and visit her brother and stuff out in Italy after the fact. So that was cool for them. My grandparents on my dad's side had never been to Europe, so it was like I kind of got to bring them there, and they got to watch. And it was just, it's nice to have your family there to support you. It always is. It always makes it 10 times better. Even like if you have a bad race, good race, they're there. They don't care. And yeah, I love that. That was probably my favorite thing. And hopefully they'll get to watch some more in the future.
How is it like, obviously, getting to travel to Germany and getting to compete in the doubles world?
That definitely was a great experience. Actually, this past Worlds in Oberhof was like, I think the first time since with COVID that they had fans there and in the stands. And it was a huge thing. I didn't know that many people were interested in luge, but it's really big out in Germany. And it was cool. You got down to the finish and everyone was cheering away. They didn't care if you're the US team or not. And so that was cool. It was also our first sprint world championships. So and that's just like a little bit of a different format race. They take a shorter amount of time, so you tend to have different winners with that. And I think it was fun, and it's a really cool opportunity to get to race in the world championships and stuff, especially because women's doubles hasn't been in it for that long. So this was only the second one, so that was nice.
What was that experience like getting to travel internationally and compete like in Germany and Australia?
Germany we go to quite a bit. They have 3 tracks there right now. There's a fourth that maybe back in play in a couple years, but and Austria has a senior one, well, one that we kind of go to all the time in the senior circuit, and they also have a track that's more for the juniors and the youth. So we've been going to these places for probably 3 years. This is our third season traveling, and we always go to Austria. We always go to Germany. We were lucky enough this year to get every German track we had for the World Cup, and it's there. We know we're always going to go there. So anytime you get to go there, it's even if it doesn't go well, you're still learning and progressing, kind of. And there, Germany is not like a bad place to be. You know, you're going to be out in Europe. It's still like great opportunities that a lot of people my age don't get to do. So it's fun. It's cool. Sometimes it's tough being the non-German team on a German track. They definitely have the advantage, and we'd love to see more like North American races, but you know, that's the situation, and we always make it work.
How has that been like, obviously getting to travel around the world and competing in Luge and building your fan audience around you?
It's really cool to see kind of, we know we have like a lot of friends and family that come to the races here in North America, but once you go to Europe, it's a very popular sport out there. I feel like they definitely pull, I think, a little bit more of an audience than in North America, where it kind of, in the US, you know, everyone knows about luge every 4 years. It kind of comes back up. You really don't hear about it much in between, and they definitely bring in a crowd. There's a lot of energy at those races and everything. And so, yeah, and there's people who are very like, they want to sign pictures of you, and I'm like, it's like a picture from me from like 5 years ago or something found on the internet. So it's a different, it's a little bit different, but it's cool. And like we've made friends, like other women's doubles teams, we're friends with a lot of the athletes, and yeah, it's kind of cool to build like that friendship outside of like just your US team. So
What was that experience like for you to get to go to Lake Placid, which is such a magical place in North America?
it's always a really great place there. I have residency out there, so I live there part-time kind of, and we've been going out there since I was 14. That's kind of when I first started luge. That's pretty much in the US, you either start in Park City or Lake Placid, and a huge part of our team does come from the Lake Placid kind of track initially. Like we're usually like Midwest, East Coast kids, that's kind of your base is when you're starting out. So it's always like kind of has a nostalgic feeling. Like I have a whole lot of runs there from when I was little, and that's kind of like where I kind of learned to do luge, and I learned what luge is actually because I had no idea going into it. So it definitely has the feeling it's more like a comfort place, like you know, like all my stuff there, like all these memories are from that area.
What is that experience like? Obviously, as you said, some people get to perform in Lake Placid and some people perform in Park City. But for you, what is that experience like performing in Lake Placid on your home racing track?
It's a good experience. A lot of times in Lake Placid too, I think we're hoping to have a World Cup there next season, and I'm originally from upstate New York area, so it's only like a 3 hour drive for family and friends to come up. So hopefully we can get some of them there next year. My parents probably gonna fly up from Florida, but it's so close to home too. Like the 3 hours is still far, but it's a good place to watch me, and it's a great opportunity too. And yeah, there's always been that community there. Like some kids are actually from Lake Placid area too, which is great for them. But yeah, it's kind of where comfort is, and you always have comfort in your home track where you started out too. So there's that.
For my listeners that don't know, what is the sport of luge and how do you compete in it?
All right, luge basically kind of when we're going back explaining, we usually ask, do you know what bobsled is? Because you know, you have the Jamaican bobsled, Cool Runnings movie. A lot of people know that one. And so if you do know that, we kind of compete in the same track on a 1 or 2 person one laying down. So kind of, if you don't know what it is though, it's basically you go down a track of ice. We have curves that kind of angle up, so you have a lot of G-forces and stuff like that. But the track usually is around a mile long, could be longer, and you can reach speeds like 80 miles per hour. Usually women's doubles, I think my fastest is like 78 or 75 or 78 or something like that. But you're basically going feet first down a track of ice at these very high speeds. And then on top of that, you have doubles luge, which is two people that lay on top of each other. And the one person on top does all the driving and all the steering and all those kind of important elements. And the person in the back which is me, I do a lot more of the making sure the entrances are smooth and kind of, I can make some bigger saves and I have a little more control with my shoulders. So in doubles luge, you have that kind of team dynamic a little bit more, but that's pretty much what luge is.
What is that feeling like getting to lay down on that sheet and going down the track at such high speeds?
Definitely, I think I kind of some places you kind of like build up, like you don't really feel the speed as much in certain areas. But like for example, like this season we went from Austria to Canada for a race. So in Innsbruck, Austria, it's notoriously not, it's a short track from the double star and it's not that fast. And then turn around the next following weekend, we went to Whistler, Canada, which is the fastest track in the world. And so that, for example, you could feel the speed around. You're like, oh no, I'm going really fast. And you do kind of have that realization going now, but you have to commit to it because at the end of the day, there's no stopping, there's no brakes. You just got to make it down at that point. You don't really have time to have that fear about the speed.
Of course, as a luge athlete, what has that been like getting to travel around, especially in the North American side and the Canada side, to some of these popular places like Whistler and Lake Placid?
It's definitely really great to kind of, you're a little bit closer. You're not having to make that like 9-10 hour flight to Europe. So that's a plus. Whistler is that Vancouver area, and it is a very nice area. Lots of fun shopping there. We went to Lululemon like a couple times when we were there. It was great. Park City is a very nice area. We always go there. It's like a ski town, so it has plenty of stuff, lots of shops, lots of things to do outside of just sliding. And Lake Placid, like a lot of my teammates have apartments there, live out there. So that's kind of where we're based at mostly during the summer and the off season. So there's a lot of comfort there. We have our certain places we go to and like to hang out around there.
What are some of your favorite memories and moments so far competing in luge?
Definitely like highlights are those like big races like the Youth Olympics. Like that was a great experience. It was so fun. I remember that, but there's a lot of times like my teammates will like kind of reminisce now and we'll like sit down and we'll like talk to each other about random little funny things that happen because you figure we started basically not like we're fully living together, but we're around each other seems like 24/7 starting like at a young age. Like some of my teammates started when they were 10 or something. So a lot of your childhood and your teenage years is spent with each other. And with that comes a lot of shenanigans, little funny things that you just remember down the line, I think. And so you have those friendships too. Like I have certain friends that don't do luge anymore and I still have those friendships outside and I always keep up with what they're doing. And yeah, so there's so many little things here and there that are
How
great.
does, how does it feel to get to put on that luge uniform and have Team USA on you?
At first, like it definitely like I remember my first suit kind of thing. And it was a very old suit without because basically when you're on the development team, they kind of pull out a little suit out of a bin that you don't know how old that is. Like it had so many holes in it, my grandma had to sew that thing up every day, it seemed like. But I think either the following year or the year after that, I finally got my first race suit. And that was exciting because you're basically, once you get that race suit, kind of when you're younger, it's the same exact race suit that the national team's wearing, and you're seeing them on TV and stuff. And you're seeing that. So because at that young age, even if you're not there, you want to look the part, basically. And so I just remember getting that first suit. And like now, it seemed like before that we would only get like one suit a year. So you kind of had to keep that race suit in nice shape or whatever. And now they are on the same team. We get a little bit more. We get more equipment and stuff. More than one race suit, and so it's been also great to kind of like this past weekend. I had some old like nice race suits that I really had probably only worn a couple times, and I was able to pass those down to the younger girls who are my size and stuff. But it's cool wearing that Team USA gear and stuff because I remember back when I was like in gymnastics and I was like 10, I remember after the 2012 Olympics, they had these replica Leos from the Olympics. And so I love that. I always wanted what those girls were wearing on TV when I did gymnastics. And I remember I loved that little red Leo I had from the same one as the Olympic one. So that it is kind of a full circle moment, very different sport, but now I get to wear that. Like, that's the suit that's probably going to be in the Olympics and whatever. And so you have that kind of familiarity. You're kind of relating yourself to your older athletes at that young age too.
Through your luge career, what has it been like, obviously going from being on the developmental team to now the senior national team?
Definitely, I think there has been a lot for me getting to the national team. It can be a really hard process. I had a lot of opportunities that maybe not so many. It's not a lot of people won't probably get to the national team the same way I did. A lot of it, getting to the national team is a big timing thing. And I I was on the development team and I started off in singles and I did singles luge for 1 year. And then it was kind of like rumor has it, they're going to add women's doubles. And so our coach put together 3 girls teams, I believe, at the time. And we worked out and not all those girls teams kind of progressed on, but we did. And so we always kind of had there was always going to be that opening for us early on, so that was a huge advantage at the time. I mean, obviously we still had to get the results, we got results from it, but we were there at that initial stage, so we kind of progressed with the divisions because it started off as just a youth World Cup kind of event, and then it got pushed to the junior circuit last year. And with the junior circuit, it was also, they basically put senior athletes with junior athletes, so we would go from the same start heights, but we would take just our regular race run, and then we'd be ranked in the seniors as well as the juniors, which was very confusing and probably won't ever happen again. But because of that, we were, as juniors, able to race in that senior division, and we earned 3 World Cup medals that year, which with 1 World Cup medal, you can kind of automatically race on to the national team, basically. So we had that kind of unique opportunity where as a junior, we were able to race on. And so, you kind of hope there's opportunities like that, but everyone's situation is very different getting up there. And it kind of takes a lot of steps. Sometimes it's timing. Sometimes you just got to stick it out, even when it's hard kind of thing. So everyone's got their different way of getting there, I think.
Who are some of the people that you look up to in the sport of luge?
Definitely like my older teammates. They have been like a huge help this season. I mean, we had Summer and Emily, Summer Britcher and Emily Sweeney both have gone to multiple Olympics, and they raced women's doubles this year, for example. So it was cool to have them there with all their experience too. And they were just starting off doubles too, so they could probably, there was a lot of talking, it was a new thing for them, but also they had been there and stuff, so they could help us younger athletes and stuff. So they're great. All of my teammates this year have been great, phenomenal. They all are very successful, so they're great people to have around, definitely.
What has that been like, obviously getting to compete alongside some of your teammates like Summer, Ashley, and Emily?
It's been a cool experience. With Emily and Summer, we knew we weren't going to do singles, and we probably were never going to go against them in singles. So it was cool to be able to kind of be there and kind of compete against them, but also we kind of helped each other along the way and stuff. So it's always a journey kind of getting there, and it's great to have those people. And Ashley, while she does race singles, she's great to have around. She's helpful, they're helpful with lines and different things, and they're always there if you need to talk to someone too. They're just really great overall.
How's that experience been like, obviously getting started into the sport of luge and having some of those athletes like Summer, Ashley, and Emily to mentor you and guide you into how the sport is?
Definitely this is kind of like the first time we've really come across them. Ashley, I really haven't been on the team with either Summer and Emily till this season. And so it was a definitely different year with World Cups. We were in the Junior World Cup circuit, but it does run very differently. So they're there for that. And they're also great advocates, especially when it comes to women's doubles. It's a new discipline. So with that comes maybe not the best, the different rules they have in place maybe aren't the most fair to the women's teams. And there's a lot of things that the women have to do that the men don't have to do. And they're great advocates, especially for all the younger athletes, especially the women's doubles field. They're always there trying to push to make our discipline better and to have that fairness as to with the men's teams.
Of course, who are some of the people that you look up to in the sport, and who are some of your idols and inspirations?
Definitely, like, I think early on, like, I got into the sport because of Erin Hamlin. Like, the only reason I am in the sport is because she did so well and they did a slider search in my area. So definitely when I was younger, she did reach out a lot of times, and her mother was always reaching out to my dad, always asking how things were. So it was great to like kind of come from the same area, and you kind of have, yes, our experiences are very different, but she's always been there. You know, if I probably, even to this day now, with me being up there, if I have any questions, she would probably always answer. But it's kind of great to have that initially, especially starting out.
What has it been like, obviously, living out your luge dream?
It's been a very crazy experience sometimes because I really didn't, this was never my goal as a child. I did not know what luge was. So it was kind of a surprise that I kind of ended up doing it. I never really saw it coming, but you know, there's a lot of like, especially when I was in high school, I was like, I'm in Europe and all my classmates are back in class and stuff. So there was always that. That was made going away very fun. I did not have to be in class. I still do my work, but I did not have to be in school. So that was always fun. And now that I'm older too, you're seeing that you get these opportunities like to travel these places. I probably wouldn't go to most of these places in Europe. I probably wouldn't know where they were. And so that's just, I have so many unique experiences, and that is just kind of a cool thing to have. And I've learned different things, life skills along the way too.
What are some of your future plans in the sport of luge?
Definitely I'm trying, and we're pushing for the 2026 Olympics. That'll kind of be the next step there. That'll be the first time women's doubles will be competed in the Olympics. We had the Youth Olympics, and now we're kind of actually in the actual Olympics now. And so that's kind of the next goal, but we'll have a couple more seasons, World Cups, World Championships. And so obviously next year we want to do well at the World Championships, along with maybe a couple medals in the World Cup would be nice. So those are kind of like the little things to get to those Olympic Games in 2026.
Of course, what are some of the things that you're doing now to prepare for that 2026 Olympics? And what will that feeling feel like, obviously, to make that team?
That would definitely be super exciting. That would be crazy. That would probably be amazing. That's the ultimate goal, but definitely trying not to put too much pressure on that because again, it is 3 years away. So to really kind of set, you have to, there's a lot of things that have to go right, and kind of you have to stay healthy. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do now is work on kind of healing up those injuries from the season. We're having some breaks right now. We'll start back up, I believe, in beginning of May-ish, with being back up there in Lake Placid. We'll have our summer training and up until the preseason in September, October-ish. So with that comes a lot of start training, a lot of physical training, a lot of lifting weights, and just working out in that sense. So also just staying healthy to that point is probably the number one thing, I'm pretty sure, at this point.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to get started into the sport of luge?
I think definitely it's like very much like an opportunity thing. So if you have these opportunities to kind of get this extra training stuff, like I would say always, if you can, try to take advantage of those opportunities. But I think also most importantly, something that I definitely needed is you're living in this luge environment 24/7 when you're away. And so I think you definitely need to find your people and your outlets outside of luge, whether that's your parents, friends at home, doesn't matter. I think that is such a key thing, is having establishing that life outside of luge. So when things are going bad, you can step away and be like, I'm okay. I have these people supporting me. Like I can take my little break. Even like I talk to my parents on the phone for on average an hour to 2 hours every single day. But it's great. Sometimes if I need a vent or something, even like I had a great day of training, like you just need that outside of luge environment for sure.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to represent a national team like Team USA or Canada in luge?
Yeah, like pretty similar. Like you just sometimes you just need to stick it out too, I think, because I think you have a lot of those bad days in training. You have a lot of bad days and you have great days. And you always remember the great days and you really try to forget about those bad days, but you kind of sometimes just need to stick it out. And it sometimes it really stinks for a while. And but also with luge is there is such a learning curve with it. You don't start off and go to the Olympics. That's just not how it works. It takes years of experience, especially in doubles. You're working with a person, you're kind of learning each other as well along the way. And so you just kind of got to stick it through. You're going to have your good tracks, you're going to have your bad tracks, especially when you start traveling. And so you kind of just have to take it that one step at a time. You can't rush it. It's a big thing, I think, also.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
My Instagram is Reannyn Weiler, and I believe my Facebook is at Reannyn also. So those are probably the best places to find me.
Thank you again, Reannyn Weiler, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as a Team USA Luge athlete.
Thank you very much for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Reannyn Weiler, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.